Damn, I feel like I'm mad far from the camera right now, bro. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Trae in the building, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Apple J. You feel me? But check it out. We gotta set the programmer. Every Akatsuki member from weakest to strongest. If y'all don't know by now, I do be watching anime. Am I a try-hard anime watcher? No, I'm not. But I was thinking about making a One Piece video. So, let me know if you want that. But we gonna start recording. Where did that accent come from? I don't even know. Bro, what's up? We're going to start in 3, 2, 1, boom.
Hello everyone, it's your host, Seth the Programmer, and today we're going to be doing my very own Akatsuki ranking list. This video sounds pretty standard and kind of stereotypical, but it seems like everyone has given their inputs on this topic except
Hey, yo,
me.
what's up with that?
I thought I would finally make one
windows
myself.
making noise.
There's a lot of contentious topics on this list to go over, such as Akatsuki versus Trae and so on. But I think I have a lot of insight to give that'll be helpful for everyone. For this video, I'll be taking a similar approach as I did with the Saiyan ranking video as I did before, where I put certain characters in classes and a range of numbers they can be at, as obviously there isn't always an objective way to put one group of characters above another all the time. This list will also include every Akatsuki member that was introduced from part 1 of Naruto onward of Obito's Akatsuki. This will not include hypothetical prime characters, so for instance, we'll be listing Pain instead of Nagato, Itachi from part 1 rather than Itachi in his hypothetical prime, and so forth. Also, as a rule, we are not including prep time. This is because obviously prep time implies it is not your normal combat ability. This is more of a power scaling video than a is it possible for this character to win kind of video. You guys will see as we go on. The Akatsuki are a group of high Jonin plus level shinobi, all with a task entrusted them by Obito Uchiha to acquire all of the tailed beasts. That being said, it's no exaggeration to say that pretty much every Akatsuki member is an absolute monster that can outright take down Jinchuriki, so none of them are ever really implied or considered weak for the most part in the series, but there is definitely a strength hierarchy implied by feats and the actual characters themselves that can be looked into. So starting with Class D, I feel this is the one member of the Akatsuki most people believe is the weakest, and for pretty obvious reasons, that being Hidan at number 10. Hidan, while even much more than someone like Asuma being a character who was almost at the level of Kakashi in part 1 in the data books, and had arguably the top close-range combat skills of anybody at the time, also stated in the data book. This same person, Hidan, is self-admittedly the least accurate and slowest member in terms of attack speed among the Akatsuki. Hidan even references Kakuzu as the main guy who does all of the work of their duo, with even Kakashi recognizing that Kakuzu was especially powerful among them. Hidan does have a feat of fighting against Yugito Ni, but you can just argue his immortality and Kakuzu could have just done most of the work for him, so he doesn't really have anything going for him other than being stronger than Asuma. Granted, as I said earlier, Asuma is powerful, but compared to the other characters in the show, it's usually safe to say Hidan is at the bottom in terms of scaling. In Class C, we have numbers 9 through 7, which, not in order, are Deidara, Sasori, and Conan. It's not Conan. So this and Class C will require a bit of context to fully explain my thoughts, so don't get your panties in a bunch quite yet, but Conan, for the most part, is actually pretty featless without prep time. In the creation of the Akatsuki video game movie, she is shown recruiting and defeating Sasori, but this video game scene is arguably not even canon, whereas game movies such as Storm Generations are confirmed to be worked on as anime canon. The creation of the Akatsuki cutscene in Revolution isn't, and it seems to somewhat contradict things in the actual story. Revolution had some Kishimoto such as creating and designing the perfect Susanoo of Shisui, but there is, once again to my knowledge,
Deidara and Sasori are all in the same
part is canon, the same way
level of strength.
Only other scaling is just being pretty confirmed to be above Hidan and Hidan's own words, and with prep, forcing Obito to use Izanagi. However, in the Obito fight, we have confirmation that the only reason she did remotely good in that fight to begin with is because Obito initially underestimated her and forgot she was a strong Akatsuki member as well. So you could argue every time she even did good against Obito, it was when he wasn't going all out. So it's hard to scale her using that. We're also not using prep time for this video due to the nature of it, as obviously prep time would allow a lot of characters to be higher than they should be. The other problem is that her only other real combat showing is against Jiraiya, in which Jiraiya in base is able to kind of tag her with a questionable attack. Even against base Jiraiya, Pain thinks she would be pretty much 0 health. Pain also told her that Naruto would mop her if she tried to fight him during the Pain arc as well as this, so it's not very practical to rate Konan as a top tier. In terms of Deidara and Sasori, this one is convoluted because obviously there's the whole argument of, well, Deidara said Sasori was stronger than him, and the typical counter, well, Deidara was only saying that to get Kakashi off his back and to make him focus on Sasori so he can capture Naruto, blah, blah, blah. We've all heard it before, so let's go over the stats instead. The stats to be considered
in these reactions, bro.
Considering both combatants are pretty competently able to damage each other. In terms of speed, we see characters like Deidara as an Edo Tensei able to keep up with Anoki in flight. Anoki being someone who is able to face Edo Tsuchikage Mu, and of course later Madara. He also does okay against Sasuke, however it seems in terms of actually fighting, Sasuke was superior, and Deidara had quite a hacks and range arsenal that won't be as effective versus Sasori, which I'll explain soon. Sasori, in terms of speed, actually scales to Kazekage Gaara and Rasa, if not being blatantly superior to them. This is due to the fact that Sasori has defeated and possesses the third Kazekage, who is noted as the strongest Kazekage of all time, even when Gaara is alive. Rasa, as an Edo Tensei, is also able to keep up with Gaara during the war arc as well, and is mainly caught off guard while trying to defend the other Edo Kage from Gaara's aerial barrage. Gaara not only is fast enough to actually face Gengetsu, who is Mu's rival, and is fast enough to face Anoki as well, but also faces and defends himself from Madara, and actually directly catches and rips Deidara's arm off at the start of Shippuden. Many even theorize that Gaara might have actually won that fight or have done way more serious damage to Deidara if he didn't have to defend the Sand Village. So the fact that Sasori scales above Gaara, who already could rip Deidara's arm off, is not a good look in terms of speed. Sasori is also a very long-range combatant and has taken down nations with his puppets single-handedly. He has poison magnet projectiles that he can control the trajectory of mid-air that we know can shred through Deidara's clay, as this was shown when Orochimaru used an Edo Tensei to summon the third Kazekage once again, and was able to shoot Deidara's clay out of the air. Obviously, that Edo is also shown to be weaker than Sasori's puppet. Also, if he does ever hit Deidara, which the speed is implied for sure, he also
you talk so much, bro.
Top for him being no, we have people either think he's within him. In Class B, we have number 6 and 5, not in order, Kisame and Kakuzu. I'm already getting dislikes for mentioning Kakuzu above Class C already, but people either think he's trash or absolutely broken, but I'm gonna argue here that he's more in the middle. Kakuzu could be lower and more in contention with Sasori if you consider a few factors, but I think there's a decent argument for him being C tier. Of course, by putting Kakuzu here, I also have to explain why I don't think he'd be Pain necessarily well, unironically, as many of you are aware. So this will somewhat segue to A-tier conversations too. Kakuzu in the official Naruto volumes is stated verbatim to be one of the most deadly members of the Akatsuki. Considering Kakuzu is not particularly hacked and is more of a durable brawler type that has a lot of stamina, it is probably no exaggeration to say this is referring to.
I don't know, bro. The first I've seen of Kakuzu, he doesn't seem like. He seems slept on, honestly.
Opinions of others, with Hidan blatantly saying that he wants to murder Pain when he gets the chance. Being one of the most deadly definitely implies he's in the top half of the Akatsuki rather than the lower half, considering he isn't hacked. Hacks being things like such as poison or genjutsu, etc. And there is decent justification for it. Kakuzu faces off against Kakashi and is more or less his level, give or take. They're able to fight each other, block each other's jutsu and attacks, and can tank each other's attacks as well. Of course, Kakuzu does seem to have the upper hand against Kakashi, but Kakashi seems to imply that with the Mangekyo he would near death Kakuzu. This is pretty insane considering this is a much more efficient Kakashi than the one that Deidara was already running from. Kakashi shortly after then faces off against Tendo and Asura Pain and is able to take attacks from them and even forces Tendo Pain to act with caution. The same Pain to rip Jiraiya apart, with Tendo arguably being stronger than the ones that already.
Do y'all think Kakashi has slept on, bro? Like, I feel like, I seen this RDC World 1 video once, right? And they were saying, like, I think it was like naming black characters, like who's really black, and they said Piccolo's black. And they're like, Piccolo is like a solid ass character. Like, Piccolo knows what he's doing when he goes into the battlefield. He does exactly what he's supposed to do, and that's it. He just does what he does. You know what I'm saying? Like, he hangs with the person until Goku or Vegeta arrive, and then Piccolo's like, alright, my work here is done. And then Goku handles them. But it's like, bro, is that not Kakashi? Like, I feel like every time I see Kakashi fight, bro, one, he's fighting people that are like super strong. But he's hanging with them like crazy, bro. He's hanging with them OD. Like, Kakashi fought Zabuza from Seven Swordsmen and the Hidden Mist. Hung with him. I mean, yeah, Naruto and Sasuke did help Kakashi. But, like, everybody gets caught slipping at one point, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like Kakashi slept on. That's just me, though. That's just me, though.
Defeating and even facing Kakuzu was enough for Obito to warn Pain of Naruto and his allies' abilities, showing that he is in a decent enough caliber to even fight back against Pain, which is displayed by Kakashi. However, this fear or warnings is not made in reference to Sasori, Deidara, or anybody else, only Kakuzu. Even with the knowledge that Naruto's allies, who Obito references, have faced these people before, they are not mentioned in Obito's warnings. This, alongside the volume statement, spells it out that Kakuzu is more than likely on a higher tier than the previous, and is considered quite impressive by the actual higher-ups in the Akatsuki. I'm definitely not saying this to please the Kakuzu fans, by the way. Swear. Anyway, for Kisame, Kisame is awkward because his power fluctuates pretty wildly depending on his competition, with him being able to become stronger the stronger his opponent is, respectively. However, there seems to be limits to this that he admits to a few times. In part 1, he seems to believe his limits are Sani level, like Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Jiraiya. This may be consistent if you consider Tsunade a sort of pseudo-rival for the 4th Raikage, who rivals Killer Bee in his completed tailed B state, and all of the Sanin are supposed to be somewhat rivals in strength, with Kisame only taking on Killer Bee's version 2 cloak after being heavily amped and stealing tons of chakra. With even then, he was almost getting one-shot by the version 2 state of Killer Bee before fusing with Samehada, and even admitted base B could have put a hole in him with a lightning-style enhanced pencil. That being said, though, Kisame was trusted with hunting down Killer Bee and was able to fight off his base state before absorbing any chakra pretty well. The fact that Obito thinks Kisame could even fight Killer Bee long enough to absorb his chakra is a great feat within itself, considering Sasuke, who fought Bee recently, is someone who Bee thinks is the strongest he's ever fought before, even stronger than Jonin, Minato, respectively, who Bee has fought many times before. Killer Bee in base is also able to fight against reanimated base Sharingan Itachi for a good amount of time, and could even hold off some of his jutsus. Pain, maybe being able to overpower
You talk too
him
much. You
with
talk too much, Seth.
Don't smite me.
I'm not trying
In
to make a
Class
30-minute
A, we
video.
have numbers 4 through 2, which are Itachi Uchiha, Pain, and Obito Uchiha, not in order once again. Itachi, we can all agree, has varying degrees of strength, but in the lore is generally considered above Sanin tier and is on a different level than most of the cast. He's able to point a finger at and annihilate Orochimaru.
Bro, who's missing from the list?
Only at 30% clone, toys around with Sasuke, stronger than the one who is already able to bully Deidara, then annihilate Orochimaru in the same fight to the point Zetsu thinks he's completely invincible while he's on the verge of having a heart attack and going blind. Obviously, people will then make contentions about the statement part 1 of Jiraiya and facing off against Kisame and Itachi.
Did he even put, wait, does Zetsu even count on the list?
Stalemate or might kill each other even with their help, but obviously this is more so based on Itachi not wanting to harm the Leaf Village. We already know that Jiraiya is more of an equal to Orochimaru, and Orochimaru thinks Itachi is blatantly superior to him. So obviously, Itachi is not equal to Jiraiya. Kisame pretty blatantly always concedes Itachi would mop him in a fight as well, and has utmost respect for him. Even while extremely ill, he actually spars with Kisame in a Canon Generations mini-movie scene. And while Kisame is able to get the upper hand, Kisame concedes the moment Itachi activates his Mangekyo Sharingan, even while nerfed beyond belief. Itachi, in his youth, was also considered a rival for Obito Uchiha when he first joined the Akatsuki in the novels, and even with his sickness, Obito thought that Itachi could pretty much Batman him if he has ever learned his secret and could kill him if he wanted to. Many people downplay Itachi because of the Sasuke battle, but we know he wasn't even trying during this fight, and so it's not really indicative of an anti-V. If anything, he pretty much just toys around with the guy stronger than Deidara and Orochimaru and won. Orochimaru, even post-fight with Hiruzen, thinks he can fight off Sasori after researching a lot into him, and even though he doesn't know of his true puppet form, he knows of his third Kazekage puppet.
Okay,
even
bro,
takes
okay. You get the pains up there too, though.
Is able to blitz a third, watching the being a possibility, but I'll let you guys decide. How do you think the ranking in A tier goes? I know some people think Obito is a completely...
Basically, the whole A tier is anybody with special eyes. That's what it seemed like to me. Because those are the only niggas with special eyes. And they're all in A tier.
Higher tier, like he'd be like S tier, but unfortunately there's still too many factors that kind of make it too debatable for me to say that confidently. I want to keep the tiers as these are debatable subjects rather than this is number one or possibly go. Now in S tier we have Zetsu, number one. Now Zetsu is weird, so hear me out, but you can either be utter garbage or pretty peak, so you can
Bro, this is how you know I'm not a true Naruto fan, bro. I just watch the show casually. No cap, bro. I always felt like Zetsu was weak. He always seems like a weak.
Either be number one or possibly in C tier. And the reason Zetsu is weird is because his power can depend on who he's attached to. So for instance, when he's attached to Obito, he can fight off EMS Sasuke. When Guru Zetsu is attached to Yamato, he can fight off the entire Shinobi Alliance at the same time. So it makes you wonder just how truly strong Zetsu would be, or could be, when attached to certain characters. Oh, and he also stabbed Ten Tails Madara, which is a better feat than any Akatsuki member, GG. But no, anyway, that one is kind of a joke, but it really depends on those factors, as I said. So maybe you guys can rank Zetsu yourselves, but that's my list. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, maybe consider leaving a like and subscribing. Other than that, until next time.
Bro, so this guy took a S tier rank, explained that in 30 seconds, but took bare time to explain everybody else. Hey, bro. Let me know if y'all agree with that. It's been your boy Trae in the building. Like, comment, subscribe, you know what I'm saying? New videos every day. It's Christmas Eve. Christmas soon. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. It's been your boy Trae in the building. We out of here.
Your bitch, she gon' fuck for a check. When you say it, say my name with some fucking respect. All these losses I done took, I appreciate the wins. When your car costs 200, you